I'm going to quickly teach you how to play Mythic Mischief on our brand new mobile app. We're currently in open beta as a part of the Mythic Mischief Volume 2 Kickstarter. So first, thanks for being here. We're currently working on an in-app tutorial, but for now, this should get you up and running. Your goal in Mythic Mischief is to score 10 Mischief points, or have the most at the end of the game. At the end of each turn, the Tome Keeper will move towards its next destination, kicking out any mythics on its path. If the Tome Keeper kicks out your opponent, you score 1 point. Your goal on each turn is to use your chosen faction's abilities to get your opponents onto this path. So I'm using the Wizards, and you can kind of see my abilities at the bottom here. So the first one we're going to talk about is movement. All factions have movement, the same ability. So I'm going to move down here. And one thing to note, there's these cluttered spaces. Those take 2 movement points to get onto. Next, we're going to talk about the warp ability. So each faction has a way to manipulate the position of your opponents. The Wizards have this warp, which lets you switch places with one of your opponents. So this is nice, but I'm really trying to get my opponent here on the path of the Tome Keeper. So what we're going to do is use our next ability called the Shift. Each faction has a way to manipulate walls in the library. So I'm going to move over here, and then I'm going to select this wall and slide it this way. Which is great because now the Tome Keeper is headed right over that Frankenstein's monster. But I'm in the way, so I need to move out the way. So I'm going to do that, but I'm also going to get this tome down here, which we'll talk about in just a second. I'm going to end the phase. The Tome Keeper is going to move, kick my opponent out the library, and I scored a point. Now we're going to go into the cleanup phase of my turn. So this is where I get to use that tome that I just got to upgrade my abilities. So I'm going to slot that in on the warp ability, now letting me have 2 on my next turn, which is great. Next, I get to boost 2 of my abilities. These are just temporary upgrades to abilities. So I'm going to boost my Shift, and I'll boost my Distract ability, which we'll talk about here in a second. And that's a turn. I would then hit end turn, send it off to my opponent. All right, so now I'm going to go to a different game to show you the remaining moves. Next, each faction has a Distract action. This moves the Tome Keeper towards any one of my Wizards. So I'm going to do that with this guy up here. So I tap on my Wizard, and then I tap on the Tome Keeper. Now their path is headed towards my Wizard. Then I'll tap where I want it to go, which is right here. That will kick that out of the library, giving me a point immediately, which is great. All right. Now I'm actually going to use Distract one more time just to set up my next move. So I'm going to distract back to where they were. Now, each faction has a legendary ability. This is a one-time use ability, and I can re-slot it later by using one of my tomes to get it again. The Wizard has the teleport ability. This allows you to move anywhere in the library. So I'm going to do that now. So I only have 1 movement left. So I press and hold, and press the teleport button. And then I'm going to move right down here. Next, I'm going to use my warp ability to switch places with that fairy, and now they are on the path of the Tome Keeper. But I think I'd like to get out of the way, so that's going to use my last ability, which is the portal. Each faction has an after lunch ability. Basically, after lunch is the second half of the game in which you unlock this new ability. The portal, I'm able to put down 2 portals. I've already put one down on my last turn. So I'm going to put one right here. These 2 portal spaces are adjacent for me now, so I can just use 1 movement to move all the way up here to my other portal, getting me out the way, and then I'll end my turn. Boom, another point scored. One more pro tip for you before I let you go. Sometimes there are multiple fastest paths that the Tome Keeper can take to their next destination. You can toggle through those by tapping the Tome Keeper. So definitely want to go this way. And that's about it. The game ends when one player scores 10 Mischief points, or when the Tome Keeper reaches its final destination after lunch. Each faction, of course, has different abilities than the Wizards, but you'll find descriptions of those here on the app. If you've got any questions or need help with anything, please hit us up on Discord. Now go, get into a game.